Okay, so get this, Steve Guttenberg right.
Yeah, 80s movies.
Exactly. Police Academy, 3 Men and a Baby. The guy was like comedy gold.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But recently, he's been in the news for a totally different reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, remember those crazy wildfires in Pacific Palisades, California?
Oh, yeah, those were scary.
Well, Guttenberg was right there in the thick of it.
No way. Was he okay?
Totally fine.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He wasn't running away from the fire. He was helping firefighters move abandoned cars out of the way.
Wow. That's pretty unexpected.
I know, right? And we're going to deep dive into all this based on the CBS News piece we found. It's pretty amazing.
So like a real-life action hero.
Exactly. The article even describes how he was directing traffic, helping emergency vehicles get through all the chaos.
Wow, so he really put himself out there.
He did. It wasn't just like a quick in and out thing either. He stayed there for hours helping out, making sure people were safe.
That's incredible. It really makes you think about how we see celebrities,
Like they're in their own little world.
Yeah, exactly. But Guttenberg's response was so down to earth, so human.
Yeah, there's this quote in the article where he says, "It's not often in life that you feel like you can make a difference. I'm able-bodied, I'm strong, I have a heart and I care, and this is what I'm supposed to do today."
It's like he just saw a need and stepped up without any hesitation.
Exactly. And it seems like this sense of duty of helping others comes from his upbringing, especially his relationship with his father, Stanley.
Right. I remember reading about that in his new book, Time to Thank. It's a whole tribute to his dad, who sounds like a fascinating guy.
Oh yeah. Stanley Guttenberg was a former Army Ranger and then an NYC cop. So you can imagine, pretty tough guy.
Wow. That's quite a background.
But he was also apparently a super loving and supportive dad.
It's interesting how those two sides can totally exist in the same person, right?
Totally. Yeah. And the best part is that Stanley was 100% behind Steve's decision to become an actor.
Even though he was just 17 at the time.
Yep. Dropped out of the school to chase his Hollywood dreams. Can you imagine most parents would be freaking out?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But it sounds like Stanley really trusted his son.
He did, and it obviously paid off. And speaking of paying off, there's this amazing story in the book about how Stanley's old police academy shirt might have actually helped Steve land his role in, you guessed it, Police Academy.
Wait, really? That's amazing. Life really does come full circle.
I know, it's crazy, right? Like maybe wearing that shirt gave him some kind of boost, some of Stanley's own courage rubbed off on him or something.
You never know. But it shows how family history can play a role even in unexpected ways.
Absolutely. And while Police Academy was definitely his big break, Guttenberg's career went way beyond that. I mean, Diner, 3 Men and a Baby, Cocoon, Short Circuit. He was a huge star.
He was everywhere. But even with all that success, it seems like he never forgot where he came from.
Right. The article talks about how Stanley kept him grounded. Always answered his 6 a.m. calls no matter what.
Wow, even at the height of his fame. That's commitment.
It shows how important family was to him. And that bond became even stronger when Stanley's health started to decline.
Yeah, I remember reading about that too. It must have been a difficult time for Guttenberg.
Oh, absolutely. But he stepped up in a major way. He became his dad's primary caregiver, driving like 400 miles every week to take him to dialysis.
Wow, that's dedication.
It really is. It shows you the depth of their connection. And it gets even more incredible because he didn't stop there. He actually trained to become a home dialysis technician just so he could take care of his dad even better.
It's amazing, going above and beyond like that. It says so much about his character.
It really does. It's clear that Guttenberg's love and respect for his father went far beyond just duty or obligation. It was something much deeper.
You can really feel that in his writing.
Exactly. It's really powerful stuff. But as anyone who's been through it knows, caregiving can take a toll. And the article doesn't shy away from the emotional impact it had on Guttenberg, especially as his dad's health continued to worsen.
It's never easy watching someone you love struggle like that.
It's not. And then eventually Stanley passed away. It's a loss that Guttenberg is clearly still processing, even now. He writes about performing CPR on his father, unable to believe that he was really gone.
That feeling of denial is so common when you lose someone close to you. It's like your mind just can't accept it.
I can only imagine how tough that must have been, and it makes you think about those wildfires in a whole new light.
How so?
Well, in the middle of all that chaos and fear, Guttenberg actually felt his father's presence. Almost like Stanley was guiding him, keeping him safe.
Really?
Yeah, he even described hearing his dad's voice telling him to get out of the danger zone.
Wow, that's powerful. It makes you wonder about those connections we have with loved ones, even after they're gone.
Exactly. Like maybe these intense experiences like caregiving change our perspective on life and death and what really matters.
It's not about holding on to the past, but carrying those memories and lessons forward, letting them shape our actions in the present.
And maybe that's what Guttenberg was doing by helping others during those wildfires. He was channeling that sense of duty, that unwavering courage he learned from Stanley, and using it to make a real difference.
It's a beautiful way to honor his father's legacy, taking those values of service and compassion and putting them into action in a real-world crisis.
And it's a reminder that heroism isn't always about grand gestures or superhuman feats. Sometimes it's about those everyday acts of courage, those small moments where we choose to step up and help those in need.
Exactly. It's something we can all strive for, whether we're facing a natural disaster or just navigating the challenges of daily life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So next time you see Steve Guttenberg on screen, you might just see him in a whole new light. Not just as this funny guy from those 80s movies, but as a real-life hero, a devoted son, and a man who embodies the spirit of service and selflessness.
And that's a pretty powerful image to keep in mind. It reminds us that even in the midst of chaos and uncertainty, there's always room for compassion and courage.
Absolutely.
Driving 400 miles every week, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, think about it, rearranging your whole life, putting your career on hold just to take care of your dad.
That's love right there.
It really is.
Yeah.
And get this, he didn't just drive him to dialysis. He actually trained to become a home dialysis technician.
Wow, no kidding. So he could take care of his dad himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talk about going above and beyond.
That's serious dedication.
Yeah, it shows you just how deep their bond was. It wasn't just about duty, it was about love and respect.
Absolutely. But even with all that love, caregiving is never easy.
Right. The article talks about how tough it was on Guttenberg emotionally watching his dad's health get worse.
I can only imagine how heartbreaking that must have been.
It's got to be one of the hardest things to go through. And of course, eventually Stanley passed away.
I was wondering about that. How did Guttenberg cope with that loss?
It seems like he's still grappling with it even now. He writes about performing CPR on his father and just not being able to accept that he was gone.
That feeling of denial is so powerful when you lose someone you love. It's like your mind just can't process it.
Yeah, it's like a part of you just refuses to believe it's real. And it makes those wildfire stories even more interesting.
Oh yeah, how so?
Well, because in the middle of all that chaos and danger, Guttenberg actually felt his father's presence.
You're kidding.
Nope, he even said he heard his dad's voice telling him to get out of there.
Wow, that sends chills down my spine. It makes you wonder if those connections we have with loved ones can transcend even death.
Maybe. Like, those intense experiences like caregiving change the way we think about life and death and what's really important.
It's not about clinging to the past, but carrying those memories and lessons with you, letting them shape your actions.
Exactly. And maybe that's what Guttenberg was doing by helping people during the wildfires, channeling his dad's strength and courage and using it to make a real difference.
It's a beautiful way to honor his father's legacy.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it shows us that heroism can come in all shapes and sizes.
It's not always about grand gestures or saving the world. Sometimes it's about those small acts of courage, those moments where we choose to help someone in need.
Exactly. It's something we can all do in our own way.
Like anyone can be a hero. It's not about being famous.
Right. It's about having the heart to step up when it matters.
Exactly. And it makes you think how many other people are out there just like Guttenberg doing amazing things without needing the spotlight.
Quiet heroes all around us.
Exactly. It's kind of humbling when you think about it. It makes you want to look for those everyday heroes in your own life.
Totally. So after this deep dive into Steve Guttenberg's story, what's the takeaway for our listeners?
Well, maybe it's a little nudge to be a bit braver ourselves, a little kinder,
Or just more willing to lend a hand when someone needs it.
Exactly. And I think it's also a good reminder that even those big Hollywood stars are just people dealing with real life stuff.
They have their struggles and their triumphs, just like us.
Right. And Guttenberg's story really highlights how powerful family can be and how important it is to find your own strength and courage.
Yeah, and how those small acts of kindness and compassion can make a real difference.
Exactly. It's a story that sticks with you. It makes you think about your own values and what kind of impact you want to have on the world.
Absolutely. So next time you see Steve Guttenberg in a movie, you might see him a little differently. Not just as the funny guy, but as a real-life hero, a devoted son, and a man who truly embodies that spirit of selflessness and service.
Yeah, it's a powerful image to keep in mind. It reminds us that even in the toughest times, there's always hope and there's always room for compassion and courage.
Couldn't have said it better myself.